In life, we've all had our own share of cruelty and injustice, or had to suffer the consequences of being born a certain way. And you're not wrong if you're reflecting on our victimhood. It's perfectly reasonable and healthy to be acutely aware on how our tribal faces resisted the situation. Thinking about all these obstacles is necessary to overcome them. But here lies the trap that we might get stuck in. We get caught up in self pity when we get bogged down by all these obstacles and we make a choice, most subconsciously, not to try to overcome all the problems. Instead, we focus on how we are powerless victim, that the universe is conspiring against us. So that brought me to the topic of today, which has to do with what is self-pity and how does it come about in our existence. Self-pity to me is a spiritual suicide. It is an indefensible, or let me say, self-mutilation of the soul. Branding ourselves as victim is a defensive mechanism. It permits us to feel entitled, and also it permits us to believe we are righteous. Telling ourselves these stories of victimization, that everyone is victimizing us. The loop in our thought, um, which we are too familiar with, supplies us with endless excuses not to take personal responsibilities for our own actions or consequences. This leads to laziness, and it also leads to unhelpfulness and stagnation. All these endless supply of excuses is not a benefit of the surface of self-pity. Like, why bother when I'm just a loser? Oh, the desk is stuck against me, so what's the point in trying to push it back? Everybody should be nice to me, or I don't owe anybody anything, so I'm free to do whatever I want. It feels good to tell ourselves that all these things are working against us. Telling ourselves all these stories makes us feel better. But the reality is this: self-pity is far more harmful than it is helpful. With me here, I have few points on how self-pity is harmful to our existence, which I will start sharing with us one after the other. The first one here is self-limitation. When you're making all these kind of statements, like, why bother when you're just a victim or the whole world is conspiring against you, it should be an evidence that our self-pity will prevent us from attempting to achieve our goals in life. We will become pretty comfortable, or let me say comfortably uncomfortable, listening to that voices that tells us we are not good enough to even try to overcome. So we languish in laziness instead of taking risk and putting in the effort. If we pity ourselves compulsively, we'll aim low and never dare to dream high. Make sure to also watch out for these thoughts that paint us as the noble warriors, because it's a very dangerous thing, especially when braving the winds of a universe that hell bent on getting us down. So we believe we are trying our best, whereas we are doing nothing. Our self pity can manifest as righteousness in this way, making it easy for us to rest on our laurels and believe that that's good enough. We feel special and unique in our suffering, and we attempt to gratify ourselves with this narrative in place of real achievement and effort. Again, this is a lie that we are telling ourselves to prevent us from the possibility of experiencing further feeling of failure. All this happened because of fear of failure. Our motivation withers away as a result of this. So the next point I want to share with us is self-pity makes us selfish. It can make us less concerned with the struggles or what others are passing through around us. It's a tricky form of selfishness, only thinking about yourself, which you may not even recognize that you are doing. After all, we are all just the victim and not the one causing the problem for others. But in identifying ourselves as the victim, we will likely become less sensitive to what others are passing through or the needs and value them as less important than our own. Everyone faces injustice, and there is no actual saying whose inner battle deserves the more attention than the other. If we are always the victim, we don't afford others the space to have their own experience of hardship. Meanwhile, our self-pity can breed jealousy and resentment of the good things which we think other people have, which we don't have. And that leads to anger and bitterness, which is the next point on how self-pity affects us as a person. Anger and bitterness. It often pairs with anger and bitterness towards others and even those who don't deserve it. You see yourself pouring your anger on people, even people that don't deserve it. You won't often find someone who is pitying and feeling sorry for themselves at present moment without also blaming others and feeling angry towards them. So that's what self-pity can do to anybody. It doesn't feel good to go around in life feeling angry at the world for the victim of our wrath, not us and our inner peace. In doing this, we'll spread our self-pity to others. The truth is, victimhood is very contagious. When we are inattentive to other people's need, we are simply perpetuating the circle of self-pity. Not only will we will feel like the universe is cool and people sucks, but now other people will start having the same feeling too. Then that brings me to the next point. It damages relationship. Needless to say this would damage our relationship with other people. People find it draining to be around excessive self-pitying and bitter friends caught in the trap of self-pity. We will find it hard to celebrate our friends or the victories they achieve using their successes as just more proof that we don't have it as good as them. Worse still, we may be pleased with their losses. You see yourself celebrating when your friend is having a hard time and warms our physical health. That's what self pity can do. It can harm our physical health. It's harmful to our emotional state, influences our physical health. One study from the 90s suggests that people who thought they were hopeless had a 20% increase in their blood vessel hardening, about the same as people that smoke 20 packs of cigarettes a day. The anger that often rises alongside our self-pity can significantly increase our heart disease and stroke risk. Chronic self-pitying can lead to anxiety, it can lead to depression, which can again impact our physical health and negatively affect us. So, knowing all the dangers of self-pity, the question now is, how can you avoid it? Okay, for today, this where I'll be cutting out the recording, but by tomorrow I'll be releasing another one. It's because of time, so I'll be dropping another one on which we'll be focusing on how you can avoid self-pity. Okay, thank you for listening and see you again tomorrow. God bless you.